Hey there, everybody. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of Top 10 Songs. My co-host for this episode, Dan Brown from the Warehouse in Newburgh, New York.
Same evening, different side.
That's right, yeah.
That's it.
So for this episode, we are bringing you the long-awaited James Gang Top 10 Songs. So I have put together my top 10 favorite James Gang songs and some honorable mentions. Dan's going to help out as much as he can. I think I'm a little bit more of a James Gang aficionado throughout most of their career, but Dan knows a lot about like the certain eras of the band. So he'll provide a little commentary and things like that. But do you want to kick off with a tune, or you want me to start? How do you want to do this?
Walk Away.
Walk Away. Walk Away is good.
Walk Away.
Walk Away is good.
I mean, that was something that was ingrained in your head because it was in a constant playlist on radio stations. No matter what radio station you went on, there was Walk Away.
Yeah, from the Thirds album. It's quite good.
That is, pretty much gives us Joe Walsh some of his finer guitar moments, and of course his vocals as well.
Yeah.
So it's just, you can't deny that. Walk Away.
Interesting band because they had kind of different eras, right? So they were around in total for maybe a decade?
65 they were formed as like a teenage band. That was, what's his name we were talking about, the drummer?
Jim Fox.
Yeah, Jim Fox.
It was James.
Right? Yeah, and he was the only constant in the band from its original inception. And if you really want to look at, with the band, we always say like Deep Purple had Mark I, Mark II, Mark III. The James Gang had... oh dear God! I mean, they had about 16 marks in those early years, but it wasn't until they started getting a little bit of. I think they were from Indiana originally, and they got a little bit of notice. They were a regional band, and then they were able to get a hold of a certain guitarist, Rich. I have to look that one up. I really apologize. Oh gosh, I'll remember that at one point. Here we go, Tom.
But they were known for the guitar players that kind of came and went through the band.
Yes.
That's So of course their first three albums featured a guy named Joe Walsh, who pretty famous guy.
Who came into the band to a guy named Ronnie Silverman. Ronnie Silverman was the guitarist. He was like a local legendary guitarist in Indiana in the music scene at that point. And he was playing, but then at one point his wife divorced him and he was AWOL for the Army. So he took off for California, and he recommended Joe Walsh, who was in a local band called the Measles. Now, the James Gang, up until this point, had upwards of 4 or 5 members in their band, and they were pretty much staying around a 4-piece band. Well, when Joe Walsh came in, they just went with a 3-piece, and the rest is history, and he was recommended by him. By the way, Silverman, who went to L.A., he ended up helping form a band called Pacific Gas and Electric. Had a couple of moderate hits. That's a show that's kind of interesting about the tragedy of that band, but that's another day, another show.
Yeah, that's right. All right, so my number 10 song is actually a cover song that they did on their first album called Your Album. And it's a song written by Stephen Stills and performed by the Buffalo Springfield. Of course, you know what I'm talking about, right? The Mighty Bluebird. They knock it out of the park. It turns into this great kind of bluesy, heavy rock jam. And this was, 1968 or 69?
68,
yes.
69.
So, it was pretty heavy stuff for the time.
Yeah, their first album came out in 69, but they were together in 68.
Yeah.
And, the James Gang never rose above a supporting act.
True.
They were never a headliner, but they supported many of the great bands at that time. And Joe Walsh, over the years, had garnered a great deal of respect when he started performing, because you had this, once again, they were a power trio, but not along the lines of a grand funk, loud. They were a bit like, they were funk, and they were, bluesy sounds.
And a country rock.
And a country rock. Yeah. And they were kind of like low key, but they had some catchy tunes, and they gelled well together. That's right, yeah.
Yeah. And, Walsh, another one of those guys, Jimi Hendrix, who most people consider one of the greatest guitar players that ever lived. Jimmy never thought of himself that way. And he had a couple of guys that he would always mention as being better than him. Yeah. Joe Walsh was one, Billy Gibbons was another, and Rory Gallagher was the other. He would always talk about those three guys.
And Joe Walsh has an extremely unique style. From any guitarist.
Yes.
Duane Allman had a certain sound. Jimi Hendrix had a sound. Well, there is a Joe Walsh sound, and I think that's why the Eagles really wanted him in the band at some point because of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Got another tune you want to throw out there? Or you want me to just throw my number 9 out?
Throw your number 9.
All right. So we talk a lot about Joe Walsh. So after Joe Walsh left to go solo after their third album, they had got a couple replacements. So I'm trying to think. What was the next guy that was? Dominic Troiano.
Yeah.
Okay. After Joe Walsh came into the band, he stayed for a couple albums, and then they got this young guy named Tommy Bolin.
And the interesting thing about Tommy Bolin and how he came into the band. Yeah, first off, Jim Fox, the drummer,
Yep.
he never felt that they gelled well with Dominic. Plus, you're also
Good player, though.
Yeah. Paul is a whole completely different story.
Oh yeah.
And that's where my weakness comes in with the James Gang, because I know the Joe Walsh era, we have the Tommy Bolin era, and I remember years ago in the 70s, the sound was so different when I listened to one of those albums, other than the live album, which was a Joe Walsh album. You listen to those, it just was like so different that I just didn't like it.
Yeah.
So I never really pursued it that much further. Tommy Bolin's in the story. Getting back to Tommy Bolin came into the band because of Joe Walsh. Now, Joe Walsh left the band totally amicable. He just wanted to front his own band. He wanted to do his own thing. Yep. And everybody was in agreement. He left on great terms. So to the point when he left, he gave a call. He started a band of his own, which was Barnstorm.
Yep.
Well, strangely enough, members of the band in Barnstorm were doing a lot of session work with Tommy Bolin. It was kind of like his backing band.
And he was in Zephyr at the time.
Yes, no, he was after Zephyr.
After Zephyr. Okay.
He had been playing with Alphonse Mouzon. He was going into jazz.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But he had founded this band, and he was going on his own. So when what's his name left from the band, Jim Fox calls Joe Walsh. Do you know any guitarists out there? And Joe Walsh goes, "Yeah, I got a guy for him. This young guy.
You got to check out this guy named Tommy Bolin.
Yeah, well, you got to get him. If you don't grab him, somebody else will.
Yeah.
So they call him. He comes in. He auditions, and so they asked years later. They had an interview when they brought Tommy Bolin into the band with Jim Fox, and they're sitting there and they're talking about. So how'd you get into the band? He goes, Joe Walsh kind of stole my band, and he goes, he was so guilt-ridden that he offered me the job in the James Gang, and the rest is history.
There you go.
So, as far as my song, you asked me about a song, Standing in the Rain.
Yeah, it's a great tune.
Which is the opening track, I believe, on the album Bang, which was Tommy Bolin's first album with the band.
Yep.
Which in actuality is a Tommy Bolin solo album, because he wrote.
Yeah, he's all over it.
Between Miami and that album, he wrote, I believe, 95% of the tracks. Yeah. So it's really a Tommy Bolin album.
Yeah. So for all of you who thought that Tommy Bolin actually replaced Joe Walsh, he did not. He replaced Dominic Troiano. And you stole my number 9, which is Standing in the Rain, which is a great tune.
There we go.
A great tune. It's melodic. It's got that killer guitar intro. It's a catchy song. So I'm gonna shoot right over to number 8. Another Tommy Bolin song. This off the Miami album.
Which one?
The song is "The Devil Is Singing Our Song."
Okay.
Great riff in that. It's a haunting, cool hard rocker. Man, I just love it. Again, just shows you the strength of the Tommy Bolin era. Those two albums are really, really good.
And I accepted Tommy Bolin because he had that funk edge.
Yeah, he totally
did. It was different, but he had that funk edge that Joe Walsh possessed.
Right. Which Tommy then brought to Deep Purple. I mean, right after he left the James Gang. So, yeah, absolutely. You got another tune you want to throw out there?
Yeah, give me a second here. I got to look at my notes. I wrote things down. And where are we? Oh, gosh. Here we go. No, it has to be... Hold on. Yeah, Funk 48.
There you go.
Funk 48 instrumental. Once again.
For the most part,
yeah. For the most part.
Donk, right? It's about the only lyrics that are in that, right?
But it's a great
The Prelude to 49.
Prelude to 49, which is also should be on the list somewhere. Up there you go. What do you know? Great minds think alike.
My number 7. MTV. How about another Joe Walsh tune? How about Woman?
Okay.
Nice bluesy hard rocker, right?
Mm-hmm.
Good tune. I dig it. What else you got? Got anything else on there?
I'm working on something.
You're working on it?
Something else
While you're looking, I'll throw out my number 6.
Throw your number 6.
Back to the Miami album. More Tommy Bolin. Tommy Bolin stuff is strong, people. I'm telling you. Alexis.
Yes.
Really nice tune. And again, just shows you the genius of Tommy Bolin's guitar work. I mean, and again, yes, he had that funky vibe that Walsh did, but like as far as like playing solos and what have you, they were both night and day.
Oh, they were totally different.
And the songwriting styles are totally different too.
Okay, so keep going because I'm
going.
still.
All right, let's go back to the.
Are you pulling any Troiano songs out of this?
Not in my top 10. I'm not. No,
oh, there you go. So you're getting
10.
all okay.
So how about my number 5 is the Bomber. More Joe Walsh stuff. Got to have the Bomber, right?
I'm gonna let him finish this up because he's. I thought he was gonna. That's why I thought you were gonna bring some stuff from Dominic Troiano and these other eras.
In my honorable mentions, yeah, but
honorable mentions,
not the top 10. It's all Tommy and Joe in my top 10.
Yeah. Okay. So
all right. So the Bomber number 5, number 4, Walk Away, which you've already discussed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Number 3 from James Gang Rides Again, Tend My Garden.
Okay.
Which is a totally cool tune. They did a couple tunes like this that had Joe basically on the Hammond organ doing this kind of like atmospheric pop rock, and then he'd come in with a lyrical solo. And I think that Tend My Garden is probably my favorite of the two of them. It's a really good album. James Gang Rides Again. Obviously, I'm wearing the shirt. Is a great.
Did you change that?
I just took off the. I'm quick.
You just don't want people to think you're wearing
I got to change the costume.
I know. Wow.
You got to make it relevant to the
that.
show, right?
All right. I was wondering, you really got to get Chris Ray had a deep purple shirt on.
That was a hoodie.
What
I just
day
took the
is
hoodie
it?
off and
Oh, okay. God.
See that? It's a different day, people. He's just joking. No,
it's a different day.
Different day, different set. You know,
I wear the same clothes every day. Oh, wait, you all know me. That's what I do.
My number 2, Funk 49.
Yes.
Again, from the James Gang Rides Again,
Funk
right?
49.
Yeah, well, they're both great. I have Funk 48 on my honorable mentions list.
All right.
And my number 1 song, my favorite song. It's the most raucous, heavy James Gang song ever recorded. It's from the first album, your album. It's called I Don't Have the Time. It's only like 2.5 minutes long. It kicks.
Well, it's like
ass.
when you listen to Joe Walsh in Barnstorm, Laundromat Blues. It's like a minute and 30 seconds.
Yeah, there was a lot of really quick tunes back then, right?
That's a lot of fun stuff there.
So I got a bunch of honorable mentions, and some of these may strike a chord.
I'm trying to get my bearings straight still.
Take a look around from your album. That's
have we done it on the same day as the first one at the show? I'd be okay, but now it's another day, so I'm all tired.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm tired.
What else? Lost Woman, which is a Yardbirds tune.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Fred, how about Stop? And that's another cover tune they did on the first album. I think I mentioned most of the stuff from the James Gang Rides Again. How about from Thirds? Things I Could Be. Okay. It's all the same. Midnight Man. I really want to include Midnight Man on that. It's a really good kind of like country rock tune from them. White Man, Black Man's another strong song.
Devil is Singing Our Song from Bang.
Yeah,
I like
awesome. Must Be Love. That's a great funky hard rock tune. Ride the Wind from Bang, From Another Time, Mystery. From Miami, Cruising Down the Highway.
Okay.
Do It the Way You Do It. Another really good hard rock funky tune. Sleepwalker, Red Skies. There's some great tunes from. I've
always loved the cover of Newborn. Just for the sheer cover art.
I know, and that's so Tommy's out. You got who has come in? Richard Shack and vocalist Bubba Keith. Again, this is a time where it's a revolving door.
Well, Newborn. I think Newborn was actually one of their last albums. I think that was the last. It was not the last Inception.
No, Jesse Come Home was the last album. Actually,
okay.
Yeah. So they had one more in them because you had these albums. So you have the albums that really didn't do quite well for them because they didn't have that real powerful guitar figure. Was Straight Shooter. Mm-hmm. So that's Dominic Troiano. He was also on Passing Through. And again, there's a couple good tunes on those albums. They're not, but you're right.
It was such a lack of focus. Yeah, it was such a change.
And a lot of the real country rock stuff is on there.
They got more countrified. Yeah. It was like I always another album. Maybe I have to visit years later. But remember, there was an album out. Not to change something. Cactus, Son of Cactus. What was in that band?
Someone,
I think
obviously.
Nothing.
I think it was someone who was in one of the later incarnations of Cactus.
Okay.
That was not an original member. That was kind of just like, but how often? Blue Cheer is doing that now. There's a Blue Cheer out there playing every couple of years that has nobody, I think, that was ever in any incarnation other than like maybe the last couple of years.
Yeah, you have to be to call your is something where because it
takes a lot of balls, right? But
well, you have to like there's some unspoken law that if you want to call yourself that band, there has to be at least one or two members,
or at least one, at least one.
You know, but like because that's
original member.
Yeah, they ran
classic
like that with the Temptations because there was a Dennis Edwards run. There was the other Temptations. It was like everybody's calling you can't use this name. You got to use that name. I think we were all friends.
Yeah.
Thanks, MTV.
We're just going to blame MTV for everything that's gone wrong.
Everything's going wrong in the music industry.
So, all right, so that's some James Gang for you. And one thing I did want to kind of throw out there, too. So we've talked about in our live songs from classic live albums show that Dan and I did together. We talked about, in the 70s, these classic live albums that were single albums and should have been doubles. How about the James Gang live album?
That's a great album. It's also Joe Walsh. It's the first showing of him live, on vinyl.
But the recordings of that entire show are out there.
No, they're out there. I know. But once again,
they should have released that.
I think that once again, like it could have been a contractual thing. Maybe they owed another album with Joe Walsh there. Maybe that was maybe that was they didn't want to put a double out because remember, James Gang was not an opening act, although they were popular on the radio, and they had a few hits. Now especially that came out after Joe Walsh left.
Yeah, it did.
So all of a sudden, if so many guys and they go to concert and there's no Joe Walsh, what's going on here? So I guess it was.
And there was no internet back then, right? So how much you want to bet there were plenty of people who went to see the James Gang after he was gone? They went to see them live, and they're like, "Wait a second, where's Joe Walsh?"
I know. So that's why they probably didn't really push.
But you were reading Cream magazine and Circus and Hit Parader.
They had the tapes. I mean, come on, even Creedence. I think the only live album they had was that Royal Albert Hall album. There was, because they had their studio albums.
So, yeah, they had the one live album that came out after his brother left. So it was just...
That was a single album.
It was a single album,
yes,
yeah. So it was just John on guitar. And you could tell, I love Creedence. Again, we're going off on tangents here. But, they were great as a two-guitar band because as really good as a guitar player as Tom was, when his brother was in the band, you had that rhythm in the back, and they sounded a lot fuller. When you listen to live recordings of CCR, when it's just John is the only guitar player, it's missing something.
Yeah, and that's
missing something.
Once again, I think that live album came out after they were said and done. After they put Pendulum out, and
it might have. Yeah, I don't remember.
And once again, maybe it was a filler album.
A good one though, a good live album. But that's a story for another day. That's for the Creedence show.
That'll be for the Creedence show.
Is on my list to do, guys. So we'll get to
so many lists.
So anyway, that's top 10 songs, James Gang. Thanks again to Dan Brown
Pleasure.
for having us here at the warehouse. And we got a lot of stuff coming up for you in the days and weeks ahead. So make sure you stay tuned. This is on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Of course, here on the mighty YouTube. Dan, give a little plug to the warehouse while you're at it.
Warehouse, 25 taps, burgers, vegetarian and vegan. Been here 10 years. Actually, on April 20th, you can come down and visit us on our 10th anniversary.
10th anniversary.
Doing it on 420. What a shock.
And the address?
119 Liberty Street.
One block up from the waterfront in Newburgh, New York.
1 block away from Washington's headquarters. We actually are going to be celebrating music for like 4 days in a row. We have a couple of beer promos coming up. There'll be a lot of interesting stuff. A jazz summit working on for Sunday. We have our regular big 8 or 10 bands on Saturday all day. Friday night is going to be 2 bands and a beer promo from 3 different companies. And Thursday we're working. Wednesday, we're looking at doing a punk show because punk saved my butt here when I brought them in, and I found out that I had to change my demographic. So that's why punk is going to be then, and jazz is on Sunday. That's what we do primarily now. Yeah, we're trying to get those last-minute things together. But thank you.
There you go.
420.
There you go.
Check out us on Warehouse on Facebook, and you'll see we'll be listing that event and stuff in the next day or 2.
There you go. Look forward to that. And come on down, guys, all right? So we'll see you real soon. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.